With the business IGCSE, chapter 20, training. So when we talk about training, basically we're talking about ways to improve the skills and knowledge of employees. That is training. So training is a way of increasing the knowledge or improving the skills of employees. So let's scroll down and see what they are there. So for training, like I said, training is just a way of improving the skills and increasing the knowledge of employees. That is what training is about. So we scroll down and see what they write here. The importance of training. It is unlikely that an employee would go through their working life without some form of training. Training is important and involves increasing the knowledge and skills of workers so they can do their jobs more effectively. So the essence of training is to ensure that employees are able to do their job effectively. That means they can do it well, better. So training is important because it allows employees to acquire new skills, improve existing ones, perform better, increase productivity, and be better leaders. So with training, you become better. You do more than what you used to do. You have more idea than what you used to have. So this is what training will do. And at the end of it all, you become a better leader. So this is what training will give you. So you can't, as an employee, go through your working life without any form of training. It is difficult. You cannot improve. That's why there's training. I think the point I'm making is clear. So with training, employees will be able to increase their productivity. And what is productivity? The output they produce in relation to the input. Is it clear? Okay, move on. So we have different types of training. So here they said, however, training can be expensive, and in some cases, the cost discourages investment in training. This may result in lower productivity and loss of competitiveness. The lack of training might also endanger workers. So training is an expensive. It's a part of cost for firms. So as a result, they are not encouraged to always train their workers. One of the reasons why employers do not want to train their workers is that as soon as they finish training them, they become attractive to other competitors. So they might leave your company. And when they do leave your company, what can you do? Nothing. You can't take off their head because they are leaving. So the training sticks here. So they can use it for your competitors. So employers are always reluctant to train employees. Do you understand? So training is expensive. But if you do, it increases the productivity. If you don't, it reduces your productivity. And it also demotivates employees. So you might be witnessing high staff turnover when your workers are not trained. They leave your companies and start looking for somewhere else to go where they can be improved. Do you understand? Yes. So we have different types of training. We have induction, we have off the job and on the job. So we are starting with induction. So what is induction training? When people start a new job, they are likely to receive some induction training. This helps new recruits settle in and become familiar with their new surroundings. If firms fail to provide adequate induction training, staff may feel anxious. This might lead to poor productivity. At worst, staff may leave because they have not settled. So the nature of induction training will vary between businesses. So when you talk about induction, as soon as you employ new workers, new staff into your organization, you need to let them be familiar with the operations of the business. And to do this, you have to induct them. That is induction training. So training you give to workers that are newly employed. Without giving them this training, they might not get accustomed to the ways, the culture, and the practices of the organization. So you need to induct them. Is it clear? So examples of induction training are: one, a complete tour of the workplace. Allow them to move around how the company is through the premises of the company, the department, and the rest. Introduction to job and direct work colleagues. So you let them know the kind of jobs they want to do and who they have to work with directly. That is induction too. Introduction to senior staff. Let them know their superior officers, the ones they can always go to. Company history, aims, and objectives. Let them know the aims of the business. Let them know the mission and the vision of the company. It's part of induction. The policies of the company, the dressing code, the do's and the don'ts, you need to let them know. That is part of induction. And the last one is health and safety training, so that they won't put their life into danger. Is it clear? So these are all about induction. Any question about induction? So we move on to on-the-job training. So for on-the-job training, on-the-job training means you are being trained within the premises of the business. So you are still at work and you're being trained. That's on-the-job training. So on-the-job training, one of the most common methods of training is on-the-job training. This means that workers are trained in the workplace while they are doing their job. A number of different approaches might be used by our business. So for on-the-job, like I said earlier, it means you are being trained while at the premises, while you are still within the business. So we have different ways in which you can be trained using on-the-job. One, watching another worker. On-the-job training by an existing member of staff is a common method. It involves a new recruit watching and copying the actions of an experienced and competent employee. So watching another worker means you are shadowing the employee. You are shadowing an experienced employee. So you are there, you are a new worker, and you are watching over what a more experienced employee is doing. Then you are copying him or her. That is watching another worker. I think that one is clear. It's an on-the-job training. Two, mentoring. For mentoring, it is where a trainee is paired with an experienced member of staff for a given period. For mentoring, you will be paired alongside an experienced worker. So you work with him for a period of time before you become independent. Do you understand? Then we have job rotation. For job rotation, it involves a new recruit spending a period of time in several different departments. So today you are this week or this 2 weeks time. In 2 weeks, you'll be in finance department. And after 2 weeks, you go to logistic department. So you move, cut across different departments. That is job rotation. It's another form of on the job training. Is it clear?
Yes.
So what are the advantages of on the job and the disadvantages of on the job training? Number one, output is being produced. In on the job training, it means because you are at work being trained, it means you are still working. You are producing something. It's not like you are wasting time.
Yes.
Do you understand? So that means you are at job, you are being trained, and you are producing. That's one. Two, relevant because trainees learn by actually doing the job. So it is relevant because whatever you are being trained for is what you will actually do. So you are going through a training, and those training involves what you will do in the future. So that means whatever you are being trained for is what will be useful for you going forward. It's unlike off the job where you might be trained on what you are not going to work on. But here, the equipment you are using, the system you are using, it's what you need to be familiar with because this is what you'll be using going forward. So it is relevant. Your training is relevant to what you will do. Is it clear? The third point, cheaper than other forms of training because it is on the job. You don't have to spend so much on it. It's just an employee that you might not even pay to do the job. So it is less expensive than off-the-job training. Clear?
Yes.
Can be easy to organize. You don't have to spend time to plan it. A new employee might come today and just tell me, oh, employee A, go to employee C because he has more experience or she has more experience. Learn from him or her. So it doesn't need a thorough plan unlike off the job. Is it clear?
Yes.
So what are the problems about on the job training? Number one, output may be lost if workers make mistakes and through the time diverted to showing the new recruit how to do things. The first problem about on the job training is that it takes time because if I have to train you on what you need to know how to do, it will reduce the time at which I do things. That's the first problem. The other thing is that in the course of doing it, if I make mistake or you make mistake, we have to start it over again. So time is wasted, resources are wasted. That's the first problem. The second one, it may be stressful for the worker, particularly working with others. Maybe I'm not comfortable working with people. Now I have to work with you so that I put you through. It might be stressful for me, and that might demotivate me. It might reduce productivity. Clear? The third one, staff may get frustrated if they are unpaid trainers. That means we said it is cheap. So it means that workers might not be paid. So I might train you and my company will not pay me because it's still part of the working hours. So I might not be happy with that. Do you understand? And the last one could be a danger to others. For example, surgeon or trained driver. So if I have to train you as a surgeon, if I have to train you, if you have to learn on the job through operation, it is putting someone's life in danger. It's putting someone's life at risk.
Yes.
Do you understand? Like a trained driver that is training on the job, it's going to just drive everybody, ride them into a place that is unknown. So it is risky when you train people, especially for jobs that involves life. On-the-job training is not ideal. Is it clear?
Yes.
Any question about on-the-job training? That's on the job. So we go to off-the-job training. We go to off-the-job training. For off-the-job training, this training involves you being trained outside of the organization. That means you're being trained by specialists. You're being trained by other business training centers. So let's see what they wrote here. Some employees receive training away from the normal work area. This is called off-the-job training. For example, it might involve workers going to college once a week. Alternatively, it might involve a small group of managers traveling overseas to learn about new management techniques. The advantage and disadvantage of the off-the-job trainings are below. So for off-the-job, I think you understand what it means. It means you are being trained outside of the organization. So what are the advantages of off-the-job training? Are you with me? Yes. Number one, output is not affected if mistakes are made. So for off-the-job training, you are being trained while you are not working. So whatever happens there, it does not affect the output of whatever mistakes you make at the training center, it does not affect the organization. That's an advantage. Two, learning cannot be distracted by work. So here, nobody is going to distract anybody. That means you're going to concentrate fully on the training because you're not doing any other thing except to be concentrating and focusing on the training. The third one, training could take place outside work hours if necessary. So that means you might schedule the training to after work time so that output will not be lost. Yes. So it's flexible timing. The last one, customers and others are not put at risk, unlike on-the-job training, where you can put the life of people at risk. So here, it's off the job. So whoever you have to train does not involve other people. So it's just you to understand, to learn, and improve your skills. You're not going to use someone for practicals that will put their life into danger. Is it clear? Then what are the problems about off the job? Number one, no output because employees do not contribute to work. So because they are being trained outside of the organization, that means they are not contributing to output of the organization, which is not good. They will be paid for that, and they are not increasing their output or contributing. Two, some of the job training is expensive if provided by specialists. So it's expensive, unlike on the job. It is expensive, especially if it is done by specialist organizations. The third one, some aspect of work cannot be taught off the job. Some part of the operations, you need to be in the job to understand them, not outside of the job. Do you understand? So whatever you do outside of the company, you are being trained by specialists. They don't know in and out of your organizations, and your organization would not go give them everything about the operations because it's for the business. So there are some aspects of operations, there are some aspects of productions that the specialist would not be able to train you on, that you need to know at workplace. Do you understand? Yes. Because they cannot expose their aspect, how they operate, to outsiders. They can't. So some things will be missing in your training. And the last one, it will take time to organize because you're not the only company, you're not the only employees that they have to train. They have different employees, they have different clients. So you have to schedule with them, and it might take time before it comes to your own turn. Is it clear? So that's about off-the-job training. Any question about it? So we'll go to, let's see, we have a case study, which is not important now. So we'll go to, I think, okay, training in health and safety. We'll go to training in health and safety. In many occupations, the workplace can be a dangerous environment because of this potential danger. Government aims to protect workers with legislation that forces businesses to provide safe and healthy workplace. Some of this legislation addresses training in health and safety. For example, employees will need to learn about one. So before we go into what employees need to know about health and safety, what they're trying to let us know is that the working environment is not an environment it should be an environment that will not put anybody's life at risk. So for training in health and safety, what it simply implies is that the working environment, the workplace should not be a place that will put people's life in danger. So that means workers, employees, they need to be trained on health and safety measures. So what are those things that employees need to know about health and safety? Number one, using and maintaining safety equipment and protective clothing, such as fire extinguishers, protective overalls, hard hats, hair plugs, and safety goggles. So these things, employers, during training, they have to be trained. Employers have to train employees, or human resources department has to train employees that, oh, these things are important. You need to use them and how to use them. They're important. Two, the importance of hygienic environment, for example, one that is safe for food production. So also hygiene is important. Hygienic environment that is free and safe of diseases. It's important for the workplace. The third one, the dangers from hazardous substances such as acids and glues. We should understand that, oh, these things must not touch the eyes, must not touch, you have to use a glove for it or not. That's the point. It's an health and safety procedure too. The protection needed from violence, bullying, threats, and stress in the workplace. So they make us understand that it is part of the policies of the organization or of the company that there must not be bullying, there must not be threats, there must not be violence at workplace, because these are part of health and safety rules too. Is it clear? So employees must know all these things. So in many countries, legislation exists to protect people at work. This might require businesses to prepare a written statement of their general policy on health and safety and ensure that all employees are aware of its existence. So not just being aware of this existence, it is the duty or responsibility of the employers to let employees comply with all health and safety procedures and rules, because they are important to each individual. Is it clear? Yes. So businesses will have to provide training, information, instruction, and supervision to ensure that the health and safety of workers. Many businesses also follow codes of practice to meet health and safety standards at work. Finally, health and safety inspectors have the right to enter business premises to ensure that health and safety measures are in place and are being carried out by businesses and employees. So they are inspectors that check on health and safety procedures. They want to ensure that the company is compliant or not. They want to know if the company is complying or not. And when we talk about the company complying or not, it involves the employers and the employees, if they are complying with health and safety rules. Is it clear? So that's all about training in health and safety. So we'll go to the benefits of training. So we'll go to the benefits of training. The main reason for training is to provide workers with the skills and knowledge needed to do their jobs effectively. We said that earlier. Training improves the skills and knowledge of employees. As a result, their productivity will increase. However, there are several other reasons for training. One, keeping workers up to date. Workers will need training if there are changes that might affect their jobs. Some examples might include new health and safety procedure, new technology after a takeover, new working practices, new legislation. So whenever there are new things that are happening within the organization that affects the operations of the business, workers need to be aware and to be trained on that. New laws are coming up, new health and safety rules, new technology, advancement in technology, or there's a takeover. Another company is taking over your company. They need to be aware. They need to be inducted about it. They need to know about these things. So they need updates. That is what training will do. That's the first one. Improving labor flexibility. Some businesses train their workers in a range of different jobs so that they are multi-skilled. This provides businesses with added flexibility. So businesses train workers so that they can become flexible, so they can adjust to different changes within the business, different changes within the operations. Oh, they can work in logistics department. Oh, they can work in accounting department. Oh, they can work in marketing department. They have the flexibility. And this is what training will do, to increase your flexibility, to improve your skills and knowledge. Clear? The third one, improving job satisfaction and motivation. Workers will feel more secure if they are being trained to do their job effectively. When you invest, training is a form of investment. So do you get what I'm saying? Training is a form of investment. So if employers invest through training on employees, the employees will feel valued, they feel important, and that can motivate them to do better. Do you understand? The next one, new jobs in the business. So with training, for example, in expansion, new products or new technology, new jobs, this often means that some staff will need training. So because sometimes we might have new businesses. Oh, this is what we do. This is what we produce laptops. Now we want to start producing phones. So we need to train workers to know how to produce phones, yes or no? So training is involved. Training is needed. Is it clear? Training for promotion. Sometimes, most of the time, when workers are being trained, it's likely to be because they want to be promoted. So they need to be trained on how to do or how to work or how to perform in their new position. So when there's a new position at workplace, so you have been promoted, So you need to be trained on your new promoted office. So you need to know how to work there. Do you understand? So most of the time when workers are being promoted or when they go for training, they are coming back to be promoted. Is it clear? So what are the problems about training? One, high cost of training courses and other resources. Training can be very expensive. It takes chunk amount of money and it increases the cost of production for businesses. So businesses feel reluctant to train workers. Do you understand? So that's the first one. Even if it is internal, you will still need, maybe you need to motivate the ones that are the trainers. If not, they would not want to train the employees. So it either on the job or off the job, internal or external, it's expensive. Learning by doing. Some businesses might argue that training is limited because workers do not really start learning how to do the job until they arrive at their workstation. So in some jobs, the actual work environment with all its stresses and distractions cannot be easily taught through simulation. So what they are saying is, for simulation, it means that what you need is how to be, to be aware, how to get used to the office environment. That is how you learn, not when you have been training, reading books. And so the argument is that you don't need to spend so much on training. People can learn through the job. That the most important thing is, the most things learned are through the job. That is what they are saying there. Is it clear? The third one, loss of output. They believe that training takes away productivity. It makes people to not, it reduces the level of output because those workers will be, especially for off-the-job training, workers are leaving their office environment to go for training. So that means they are being trained outside the working environment. That means they won't be working and they'll be paid for that. So that is the point about loss of output. Is it clear? And the last one is that employees leaving. So when they are being trained, they become attractive to your competitors. And if you don't want to pay them as much as your competitors, they go for your competitors. So you lose out. Do you understand? So these are the problems about training. Any question about it? So we'll go to, I think, the multiple choice. Okay, the multiple choice questions. The first one. Which of the following is a benefit of on-the-job training? The benefit of C, it is cheaper than most of other types of training. Yes. A, number one is C. Question 2. Which of the following is an example of on-the-job training? Example of on-the-job. Example of on-the-job. Example of on-the-job. On-the-job. Mentoring, A. Question 3. Which of the following is a benefit of training? Benefit of training.
C, skills.
Worker skills can be updated. Nice one. And the last one, an induction course may be used in which situation? Induction course may be used in which situation? No, qualification. How can they give you qualification? You get qualification in education. Train workers in new skills? No. No.
Short sleep.
Introduce works to company policies. Introduce works to company policies and regulations. Wait. Yes. Introduce works to company policies and regulations. So that ends the chapter. So you have the case study to do now. So that's the end of chapter for training, right?
Yes.
Okay.